Good morning, students. I'm Dr. S.K. Jha, and today I'm starting with your paper, Internal Security of India. I've been teaching civil services students for last more than 28 years, and primarily my subjects are international relations, internal security, and ethics. When we talk about internal security, what we have in mind, what we have in mind, whenever you use the word security, means there is a threat perception. We are perceiving some threat from some corner, maybe from some external source, maybe from internal source. But internal security, whenever we use the word security, it is directly related to a security threat, or there is a perception of a threat from some corners, maybe from some internal source, maybe from external source, but we perceive a threat. Now, why internal security is very important component of civil services? Internal security is a very important component for civil services because after qualifying civil services examination, you are going to be a part of the administrative network, entire administrative network of the country. And in that context, you have to be responsible for maintaining the system. You have to be responsible for maintaining the setup, entire setup for the country. You are also responsible for maintaining an order in the society. Because if there is no order in the society, if there is no stability in the society, if there is no sense of security among the people in this country, then nothing will work. So, the reason why internal security has been introduced as an important component of the syllabus is primarily on account of the fact that you are, after qualifying civil service examination, you are going to be part of the entire administrative setup and you are responsible for maintaining the system. You are responsible for maintaining the government. You are responsible for ensuring proper governance in this country. And there cannot be any proper governance without maintaining a security structure of this country. So that is why it has been introduced as an important component of the civil services syllabus. Now, when we talk about security, what we have in mind? We have in mind the two components. One is internal component of the security, and then what we have in mind is the external component of the security. There are two aspects of security. One is internal and another is external. When there is a threat from within, when there is a threat from within means within the territorial boundary of the country, within territorial jurisdiction of the country, we call it internal security. But when there is a threat from outside the territorial boundaries of your country, we call it external security. So there are two dimensions of the security, internal security and the external security. Now, internal dimension of the security is coming within the domain of what we call Ministry of Home Affairs. MOH, Ministry of Home. And external dimension of the security comes within the jurisdiction of Ministry of Defense, what we call Ministry of Defense, MOD. So, two dimensions of security. One is internal dimension, another is the external dimension. Internal dimension would be coming within the purview of, would be coming within the domain of Ministry of Home Affairs, and external security would be coming within the domain of Ministry of Defense. They try to provide security from any kind of threat, from within. Now, whether it is due to communal riots, whether it is due to some kind of insurgency, whether it is due to some kind of terrorism. So, threat from within is being taken care of, Ministry of Home Affairs, and threat from outside the source, means threat from external boundaries of the country. Maybe you are perceiving a threat from China, you are perceiving a threat from Pakistan, you are perceiving a threat from Nepal. So when you perceive a threat outside the territorial boundaries of your country, it would be coming within the domain of Ministry of Defense. So that is the difference between internal dimension of security and external dimension of the security. And we need to be aware of this fact. Now, but it is not always correct, it would not be always correct to demarcate internal and external security altogether. No. Sometimes you find there is a strong linkages between internal security and external security. Why? Was, for example, if sources from outside the territorial boundaries of the country, for example, Pakistan is trying to create instability or destabilize the setup in India. Pakistan is trying to provide some kind of support to the separatists in Jammu and Kashmir. All right. So the internal and external security sometimes gets mixed up. So it would not always be correct, okay, to completely separate the internal security and external security. So it is linked. All right. So you have to also understand the linkages between internal security and external security. That is important. All right. Now, when we talk about the security, when we talk about the national security, what we have in mind, I would be referring to the views of long time back, Kautilya or Chanakya. Kautilya talked about 4 kinds of security threat for a country. And what Kautilya talked about, say, years and years back, that is still relevant in today's context. Kautilya talked about 4 kind of sources from where you perceive a threat to the security of the country. Now, what are those? Let me explain. The 4 kind of threat perception which Kautilya talked about. See, he talked about internal security, he talked about external security, he talked about security internal but externally added. And external but internally added. So, first is internal security, second is external security, third is internal but externally added, and fourth is external but internally added. Now, these are the 4 kind of areas from where you perceive a threat. All right. If there is a threat from insurgency within the country, insurgency in Northeast, if there is a threat like what you call the Naxalism in the Naxal bond areas, all would be coming under the domain of internal security. External is when there is a threat to, when there is a threat of war, when there is a threat of external aggression from your neighborhood countries or from any country, so that would be called external security. And internal but externally added. Source is within. For example, there is a Naxal threat from Naxalism, okay, in the Naxal bond areas. But if you find that from the Nepali Maoists, they are trying to help people in the Naxal, help the Naxals in the Naxal bond areas, they are supplying them the weapons, all right, they are supplying them the material resources, all right. So this would be considered internal but externally added. For example, there is a problem of separatism in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this separatism is aided and abetted by the actors based in Pakistan, by the terrorist group based in Pakistan. So that would be called internal but externally added. Then again we have external but internally added. External but internally, but there is a threat from Pakistan, but there are groups within India. For example, there is a SIMI group, all right, Student Islamic Wing group, a SIMI group. Now they are trying to provide some information to the Pakistan, or separatists in Jammu and Kashmir. They are providing some assistance to the Pakistan for making cross-border infiltration. So external but internally added. So see, you have to see how important it is that Chanakya long time back, or Kautilya long time back, talked about 4 kind of security threats: internal, external, internal but externally added, and external but internally added. Now what Kautilya talked about years and years back is still relevant in context of the internal security problem for India. Okay, that is the point which I wanted to clarify. Now, the problem of internal security becomes crucial for several reasons. The problem of internal security becomes crucial for several reasons. It becomes crucial for several reasons because there are external environmental factors, okay, which create a problem for internal security. Now, when we talk about the external environmental factors, what we have in mind, for example, there could be some attempt from the overseas countries to destabilize the Indian setup, to create some kind of instability, political instability, economic instability in the country. All right. So, what if currently, for example, there is a border, there is a build-up on the border from the side of India, from the side of China. On the Ladakh region, there is an army of both the countries, they are building up. Now, a lot of forces have been accumulated by the Indian forces, and a lot of forces from the Chinese troops they have been accumulated on the border. So there is a crisis on the border. Now, what I'm trying to make you understand is that the kind of external environment prevailing in the country at a particular point of time would also be impacting the internal security. All right, because when an attempt is made by your neighborhood countries with whom you do not have a very good established relationship, or you are having some dispute with them, so they would always try to create instability inside India. And why, for example, Pakistan and China. Both Pakistan and China are the what we call as the all-weather friends. All-weather friends, and their interest is always to create instability inside India. So they would try to create instability inside India, and that would impact India's internal security issues. So external environmental factor also we need to take into consideration. All right, when we talk about the internal security. Now, in this very first class, I'll just give you a background about the internal security issues, and then we'll be taking up the different security issues one by one. Now, the first class, what we do in the first class becomes very important, because that would be constituting the background for what we are going to do in the coming 2 weeks. Now, when we talk about the security, okay, when we talk about the concept of security, see, one dimension of the security is that you are perceiving a threat from some source, which I have told you. Now, but the concept of security in modern times has undergone a change. There is a traditional concept of security, and there is also a non-traditional concept of security. So briefly, I will be talking about the traditional and non-traditional concept of security. What is traditional concept of security and what is non-traditional concept of security? Because in UPSC examination, you are never sure what sort of question they are going to give you. UPSC is very famous for giving you surprises. So we should be prepared for that. So whenever you are talking about the security, you should be completely aware about all the domains of the security. So very briefly, I will be talking about the traditional concept of security and the non-traditional or the modern concept of security. I will be very brief. There is no need to go into the details. All right. So when we talk about the traditional concept of security, when we talk about the traditional concept of security, see, let us say non-traditional and traditional. Let us see what is the difference between the two. Traditional and non-traditional concept of security. When we talk about the traditional concept of security, what we are primarily concerned with, normally in traditional concept of security, we talk about war, we think about war, we think about balance of power among the countries, all right? We think about building up an alliance for protecting the country, or for strengthening your security, building up alliance for that purpose. So, basically, the traditional concept of security is primarily concerned with war or primarily concerned with some kind of rebellion within the country. So primarily concerned with war-like situation, primarily concerned with threat from some external sources, primarily concerned with military, building up the military, primarily concerned with the building of alliances. So that is the traditional concept of the security. But today, in the non-traditional concept of security, see, why do we talk about the security? We talk about the security because there is a threat to the survival of the human being. There is a threat to life of the human being. Now, that threat to your life could be there from the diverse sources. It could be from a war, it could be from a bomb attack, it could be from a terrorist attack. But these are the traditional domains of security. All right. But non-traditional dimensions of the security or the modern dimension of security, say we talk about, for example, there is a concept of security from the disease. Right now, during the pandemic age, during the pandemic era, like during the pandemic period right now, because of COVID-19, there is a threat to your life, there is a threat to the security of your life from the disease. So in the non-traditional dimension of security, we talk about security from the disease. We talk about security from the hunger. We talk about the food security. We talk about the energy security. You cannot live without power. You cannot live without water. We talk about the water security. So the connotation of the word security, when we talk in the non-traditional dimension, the non-traditional concept or the modern concept, this does not include only the war. This does not include only the armed rebellion from within the country. So the domain is much more wider. The connotation is much more wider. Now, much more wider in what sense? Much more wider in the sense from any source. If there is a threat to the survival of the human race, if there is a threat to the survival of the human beings, that would be a part of the non-traditional dimension of the security. That would be part of the modern dimension of the security. All right. So this means if there is a threat to your life from the disease, from the COVID-19, that will be why government is making so much of serious effort. Why government is making so much of serious efforts for producing vaccine within the country. You know why? Because there is a threat to the life of the millions, the crores and crores of people within the country, and not only within India, but also globally. You are all aware of the fact that how many people have lost their lives during the pandemic. So in non-traditional dimension of security, we talk about the security from the disease. We talk about the energy security. We talk about the food security. We talk about the water security. Not given the food. See, for a period of 10 days, will not enable you to survive. You are likely to die. You are likely to lose your life. So, in non-traditional dimension of security, we also talk about this food security, water security, energy security, and so on. All right. Means basically, and one more important thing, when we talk about the non-traditional dimension of security, we are not talking only about the security of the country. We are talking about the global security. When we talk about securing the world from the pandemic, securing the world from the disease, securing the world from COVID-19, we are talking in terms of the global security. All right. So the non-traditional dimension of security doesn't talk only security from within or security of a particular country or security of a particular nation, but it talks about security of the entire globe. It talks about the global security. So that is the difference between what we call the traditional dimension of security and the non-traditional dimension of security, and we should be aware of that. All right. Now, after talking about the traditional and non-traditional dimension of security, all right, we'll be talking about why internal security is very crucial for India. Why the problem of internal security is very crucial for India, and what are those factors which make the question of internal security very vibrant, which make the question of internal security very much relevant in today's context. So what are those factors? Now, why internal security, or the other term that we can use is the typical character of the India's internal security issue. Typical character of India's internal security issues, and I will be talking about those factors which makes this problem of internal security very typical for a country like India. Now, one by one. Now, just a minute. Typical internal security issues for a country like India. Now, why it is important? Now, let us take into consideration some of the important factors, and that will explain why internal security is very crucial for a country like India. India accounts for 1/6 of the world humanity, 1/6 of the total world population. India accounts for 1/6 of the world humanity. So, maintaining internal security for such a huge proportion of population, such a huge population, securing internal security for we have about more than 130 crore plus people in this country. So, providing security to such a huge human build-up inside the country, providing security for such a huge population for this country becomes a serious issue. So 1/6 of the world humanity, that is the first important factor. The second factor that we should be taking into consideration is diversity. That makes the problem very serious. Diversity in what sense? Diversity in terms of what we call the culture, what we call the cultural diversity. Diversity in terms of the caste diversity. Diversity in terms of religious diversity. Caste diversity, cultural diversity, religious diversity, diversity in terms of language diversity. Language diversity in terms of culture, caste, religion, language. This means people have so many identities. You have an identity before being Indian. You have so many identities. You belong to a particular caste. You belong to a particular religion. You belong to a particular region. That you belong to the northeast. You belong to north. You belong to south. You have so many identities. All right. It is in terms of language. You speak Hindi language. You speak English language. You speak Tamil. You speak Telugu. You speak Kannada. This means people have so many identities. So many identities, first important point, such a huge population. Second, so much of the identities, and you club them together, this could create some sort of a threat of disintegration. Alright? So, and at the end, first you have all these identities, and at the end, you are Indian. Or before Indian, you also belong to a particular region. You are a Bihari, you are a UPite, you are a Bengali. So people have so many identities, and this identity conflict, this identity clash, this creates a problem. This creates a problem of disintegration. This creates a problem of disunity in the country. So, for example, if you have a problem, if you have a religious diversity, that is a factor responsible for the problem of communalism. That is responsible for the problem of mob lynching in this country. So, what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to make you understand, I'm trying to make you understand the fact that because of this diversity, because of this such huge population in this country, the problem of internal security becomes very serious. So two factors. Now, the third important factor when we talk about this is the nature of the Indian state. Now, we talk about nature of, we talk about nature of Indian state. We talk about nature of Indian state. No, when we talk about the nature of Indian state, what we have in mind? What is the nature of Indian state? See, the nature of Indian state, when you talk about, India has adopted a federal structure. India has adopted a federal structure, and in this federal structure, there is a union government and there is a state government, and power of both the union government and the state governments have been defined by the constitution. All right. And union government has to make laws, as we know, on the union list, state government on the state. I do not want to go into those details. State government on the state list, and in case of concurrent list, both could be making a laws. All right. There could be a conflict between union government and the state government. All right. The way union government looks into a subject, looks into an area, looks into an issue, that may be different from the way state government is looking into that. All right. So there could be a conflict between union government and the state government, and the problems becomes very serious, particularly for a country like India, that whenever you talk about a security, whenever you talk about security, you have to keep in mind the law and order as a subject, and law and order being a state subject. All right. This means law and order is a state subject. All right. And this means state government is responsible for maintaining a law and order in the country. Now, it is supposed that if there is some problem of terrorism, some terrorist incident or some Naxal incident in some part of the country, the first people, the first unit to go there, first unit responsible for this would be the local police, and because law and order is a state subject. Now, law and order is a state subject and such a huge country, and you have to add to it the fact that there could be a different party government in the state and there could be a different party government at the center. So, center there could be an NDA government, and the state there could be a Congress government, there could be UPA government, or there could be some regional government. For example, we have seen always there is a clash between the NDA government at Delhi or the BJP government at Delhi and what we have the Trinamool Congress TMC government in West Bengal. On several issues, they are fighting with each other. Now, problem of internal security becomes very serious because of the nature of Indian state. First, it is a federation. Second, it is a federation on the one hand, and secondly, law and order is state subject. And think of a situation. This means it would be difficult for a union government to think of a unified law, unified approach towards the security, internal security issues, because law and order is state subject. Unless and until you take the concurrence of, you take the opinion of the state governments, it would be very difficult. Now, after the Mumbai incident, 26/11 Mumbai incident, now the central government, the UPA government, thought in terms of bringing about a law. And they bringing about a law and thought about thinking about creating what you call the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, to deal with the problem of terrorism. They could not do it because the state governments did not agree. There was an opposition to this move by the state governments. They couldn't do it. So the point which I'm trying to make you understand is the typical nature of the Indian state. India having a federal structure. One, law and order being a state subject. Number two, and the possibility of a different party governments being there at the center and at the state level. So that makes problem of internal security very complicated for a country like India. All right. Now you have to understand the point which I have already told you, that internal security is something which is always linked with law and order. And law and order is a subject. And I have also told you fact that whenever there is a serious internal security issue, whether by terrorist attack or whether by a Naxal attack or whether by any issue or whether by a communal violence, whenever there is a threat like that, at that point of time, the first administrative setup that is available in the state to deal with these issues would be the state police. All right, and even if central governments wants to, for example, central governments wants to send a paramilitary forces. Now, sending paramilitary forces to the state would also require a kind of concurrence with the state government. Because there should be a concurrence between central government and the state government, then the paramilitary forces could be sent. You have to understand all this point. So, because of all these reasons, the problem of internal security is very typical so far as India is concerned. So, we talk about a typical nature of the India's internal security problem. All right. We also need to understand why internal security is very important. Because internal security is directly linked with the development of the country. It is directly linked with the economic development of the country. It is directly linked with the socio-economic development of the country. Let us find out what makes the problem of internal security very significant. What makes the issue of internal security very significant for a country like India is the relationship between internal security and development. Let us see the relationship between internal security and development. No developmental efforts, no developmental projects could be carried on or could be undertaken in the country if there is a political instability. So, any problem related to internal security would create a problem of political instability in a particular region. Now, central government, the government of India, wants to put up some developmental project, wants to create some kind of infrastructure in Chhattisgarh, for example. Now, Chhattisgarh is a region which is largely infected with the problem of Naxalism. Or government of India wants to put up some infrastructure or wants to undertake some development project in the northeastern region. Whether it is Chhattisgarh region or the northeastern region where we have a problem of insurgency. All right. Or government of India wants to take up a developmental project in the state of Jammu, in the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir, for example. Now, in Kashmir, you want to take up some problem. You want to take up some project. Now, in all those areas where, say, in northeast, you have problem of insurgency. In Chhattisgarh region, you have a problem of you have a problem of Naxalism. See, in Kashmir region, Kashmir Valley, you have a problem of separatism and terrorism. Now, taking any developmental project in those areas becomes difficult. Why? Because there would be a threat to these projects because of these issues. Because of insurgency, there could be attack by the insurgents, there could be attack by the separatists, all right? There could be attack by the Naxals. Now, it is very true of a Naxal-bound area. When we talk about the Naxal-bound area, they do not allow any developmental activities. Those areas in their domain, they do not allow. They would be creating all sort of obstacles for any developmental activities being taking place there. And one more important point that we need to understand, wherever there is a problem of political instability, first, you cannot create any developmental projects. See, the problem of internal security, because of the reasons which I have given you, would be hampering your developmental activities. So, developmental activities becomes stand still because of the problem of internal security. That is the point we need to consider. Now, one more important point we need to understand. You see, now, which country would like to invest in a country? No country would like to invest in a country where there is a problem of political instability. Now, why all the foreign collaborators, foreign partners, foreign investors, they would like to put up their funds in an area or a region which is politically very stable. They would like to put up in Maharashtra. They would like to put up in Gujarat. Nobody would like to put up in Chhattisgarh. They would not problem. So, means investors would not be interested, foreign investors would not be interested. You cannot attract FDI, foreign direct investment, you cannot attract FDI in the areas where there is a problem of political instability or where there is a problem of internal security. So wherever you have a problem of internal security, nobody, no foreign collaborator, no foreign investor would like to put up their funds in those areas. All right. So means internal security problem would also be hampering India's developmental efforts. So this is the link. There is a link between internal security and development. Means your developmental activities could come to a standstill because of the problem related to internal security. That is the point which we need to keep in mind. Now, let us now consider in this very first class what are the sources, what are the major challenges to the problem of internal security of India? What are the major challenges to the problem of internal security of India? So today in general we'll be talking about the general, in general we'll be talking about the different problems or the sources from where we perceive a threat, and then one by one we'll be taking up in the consequent classes. Now, so when we after understanding the linkages between internal security and development, now let us talk about the sources of threat or the major challenges to the internal security of India. What are the sources from where we are facing a major challenges to the internal security issues? Let us take them one by one. Major challenges to the internal security of India. What are major challenges? There could be a problem due to civil disorder. There could be a problem of civil disorder. There could be a problem of social unrest. There could be social unrest. See, when grievances of the people have their grievances. People have their grievances and their grievances have not been redressed or their demands have not been met. They wanted certain things and which have not been done by the government. All right, or which has not been done by the party in power. So this could create a situation of civil disorder in the society. It could create a situation of agitation in the country. It could create a situation of agitation. It could create a situation of movement in the country. When grievances of the people have not been redressed, when demands of the people have not been met, so this could create a situation of social unrest in the country. This could lead to a situation of agitation in this country. This could lead to a movement in the country. Now, for example, the government, the people, the farmers are not very happy with the recent farmers' law that have been brought. First, it was brought through what we call it was brought through just a minute. It was the law, the three farmers' law, okay, which has been brought forward by the central government, and farmers are not happy with it, and they have been agitating in the country. They have been agitating on the Delhi borders. They have been agitating on the Delhi borders for last more than about 36-37 days. They have been agitating about that. Now, this agitation, suppose for example, if it turns violent, if they start attacking the public property, so this agitation, so far it is peaceful. So when it is peaceful, it's fine. But at the same time, if it doesn't remain peaceful, if agitation, because if government is not meeting their demands, they could be agitating further. They could be start attacking, marching towards the main city of Delhi, or they could be starting attacking the public properties. Some of the incidents have already come to the light in Punjab. They have started attacking the what you call the network towers, telecom towers. They have started attacking in Punjab. So this could create a problem of social unrest. This could create a problem of social and political instability in the country. All right. So civil disorder, social unrest, leading to agitation and movement. All right, could be creating a problem for the internal security of the country. Now, there could also be a problem. For example, we have large scale religious diversity. So there always many a point of time we have the problem of communal violence in this country. We have the problem of communal violence in this country several times. So communal violence could also be one of the sources, one of the challenges for the internal security of the country. There could be a problem, there could be a challenge from terrorism. Terrorism is not only a problem for India, it is a global phenomenon. It is a global problem. We'll be talking in detail about the terrorism when we take up the first topic. Terrorism will be the first topic. Right now, I'm just giving you the background of internal security. And there is a possibility of getting a general question also on internal security. What are the problems of internal security in India, and what efforts could we be making for resolving those? So there could be a general question also. Now, so terrorism is yet another challenge, yet another source from where which is posing a threat to the internal security of India. So I talked about the civil disorder, social unrest leading to agitation and movement in the country, and I gave you the example of farmers' agitation. All right. Then communal violence, then terrorism could be a problem. All right. There could be a problem of internal security also because of, for example, we talk about the cross-border infiltration. There could be cross-border infiltration. Now, Pakistan is trying to infiltrate the terror groups. Pakistan is trying to infiltrate the infiltrators, the terrorists inside India for creating instability inside India. All right. So, cross-border infiltration could also be a problem. Is also one of the major challenges. Why there is always in 2003 India and Pakistan, we have signed a ceasefire agreement on the border. We have signed a ceasefire agreement. But despite the ceasefire agreement being there would always be cross-border firing between the two countries. The primary reason for this cross-border firing? When this cross-border firing incident takes place? Cross-border firing incident takes place whenever infiltrators would be crossing over from Pakistan side towards India. So our Pakistani army would be providing them the cover. So they would be involving Indian troops in the cross-border firing, and meanwhile the infiltrators would try to cross over towards India. So it is all intentional, it is all deliberate. So cross-border infiltration is also one of the major challenges for the internal security of India. All right. Now, after we talk about the cross-border infiltration, all right, after cross-border infiltration, we talk about there is yet another challenge to the internal security of India. That is a problem of separatism. Problem of separatism. The problem of separatism, particularly we're talking about the problem of separatism. Right now it is there in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and particularly in the Kashmir Valley. So the separatists, they are asking for independence, they are asking for liberation. The separatists, they would be creating a problem, and they would be aided and abetted by the Pakistan. All right. So problem of separatism is yet another challenge. For the internal security of India. Okay. Then there is a problem of insurgency. There is a problem of insurgency, and particularly in Northeast. there are different tribal groups, all right, different tribal groups. Either they would be asking for some sort of autonomy, or sometimes there would be a clash between different tribal groups within the Northeast. We'll be talking in detail when we discuss about the insurgency problems, all right. And so whether sometimes they would be talking about the political autonomy, sometimes they would be asking for special demands to be made. Sometimes they would be agitating on the issue of what we call the regional disparity, and that there is no growth of the Northeast, all right, when they compare it with the other parts of India. So because of the regional disparity or because of some autonomy, so they would be agitating for that. The problem of insurgency in Northeast, all right, and particularly because, but sometimes they are aided and abetted by some foreign elements. Maybe sometimes you will find, maybe sometimes they are aided and abetted by China. Sometimes they are aided and abetted by what you call from some sources in Myanmar. So the problem of insurgency is yet another challenge to the problem of security of India. Now, then yet another challenge to the problem of security of India is from a source what we call organized crime. The different criminal groups, the criminal syndicate, they organize in a very professional manner, organized syndicate. So they would try to create, and because of the linkages between organized crime and terrorism, the money from this organized crime means what? We'll be talking about, say, what you call the smuggling, the drug smuggling, all right, circulation of fake Indian currency notes, FICN, circulation of FICN, all right. So there could be different kind of there could be a problem related to what we call money laundering, money laundering. So all these issues, organized crime, a separate topic we'll be discussing. Now, organized crime and the linkages between organized crime and terrorism. The source, the money earned from organized crime is being used to fund the terror activities of the different terrorist groups. All right. So that is yet another challenge to the problem of security of India. All right. Then there would be a problem for what we call, there is a problem of cyber security. See, we are living in the age of digitalization, where telecom network has become very important. We are living in an era of digitalization where telecom network has become very important. All right, let me give you some examples. See, many times you must have heard that there is an online fraud, there is an online crime. Money gets siphoned off from your account. All right. So, see, about 2 years back, about more than 150 crores rupees was siphoned off from the account of Union Bank of India, Mumbai branch. The moment the chief manager of the Union Bank of India, Mumbai branch, the moment he opened up his mail, all the details, all his passwords, they got transferred to somebody else, and about more than 100 crores, about more than 150 crores got siphoned off from the account of Union Bank of India, and they could trace it within 4 or 5 days. They could trace it back. But the point is, what I'm telling you, there could be, for example, there is in the era of digitalization, we cannot move even an inch. We cannot move even an inch, without what we call the telecom network. Can you do without internet? Can we do without internet? But there is they have this telecom network, this networking. They have revolutionized the way we live. They have revolutionized our life. They have brought about a revolution in our life. All right. They have led to greater degree of development, but at the same time, becoming so much dependent on these networks. And when there is a threat to these networks, so when there is a threat to this network, for example, we have our serious installations, we have the nuclear installations, all right? We have the nuclear installations. We have what we call the air traffic control system, which is known as all the banks. They are the great business. The great amount of business is being, nowadays you are taking your you are drawing your money from, you don't go all the way to the bank to draw your money. You don't have to go. Now, all the time when you have to transfer money to someone while sitting at the comfort of your home, you are transferring the money from your account. All right, through internet banking, you are doing it. All right. Now, for example, if there is a cyber attack on these networks, the reservation system, the railway reservation system, IRCTC is managing the reservation. All it is done through the internet. But suppose, for example, if the IRCTC site is hacked, what would be the consequence? If the State Banks of India's website is hacked, what is going to happen? So there could be a very serious problem many times, for example, we have a Ministry of Defense website, we have a Ministry of Home website. So sometimes the website gets hacked. Then what is going to be the consequence of that? What I'm trying to tell you is there could be a bigger problem for this cyber security. All right, because of our huge level of dependency on the telecom networks. So there is this has made the things convenient for us. All right, but at the same time, this has also put us under larger risk threat. Because there could be an attack from the foreign sources, from sources within to India's what we call the cyber network. All right, so there is a problem of cyber security. There is a problem of cyber war. So this is yet another domain, though not another domain. To give an example, many times you would be getting a mail. Some mail you would be getting, and you would be asked that you have won such and such lottery. And many people have become a victim of that. That you have won, say, about $5,000 or $4,000. Only thing you have to do is you have to share your account number and so on and so forth. So some way or the other, or you have to deposit the registration amount of 4,500 rupees to avail this offer. And they are trying to lure people towards that. And when you become a victim of those things. So several such frauds are being done by using the telecom network. All right. So there is a threat of cyber security, which is also a major challenge. For the security of the country, internal security of the country. All right. All right. So there could be a threat to the internal security from what we call from the cyber source, what we call cyber security. All right. Now, there is also a kind of threat what we call left-wing extremism, LWE. Left wing, this is another word which you use for Naxalism, and there are many areas, some areas of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, some areas of Chhattisgarh, some areas of Maharashtra also. There are different regions, some areas of Jharkhand, some areas of Bihar. There are various pockets, from where we are facing a problem of internal security from what we call the left-wing extremism. Why we call them left-wing extremism? Because they believe in the Maoist ideology. They believe in Maoist philosophy. All right, they do not believe in state, and they feel that the state has failed to look into the grievances of the people living in the particular region. All right, and if the people are living in a bad state, if people are living in a bad economic state, it is because of the failure of the state. It is because of the failure of the government. So they have no faith on the state, they have no faith on the government. All right. And they are basically attacking the state. They are basically attacking the state properties. They are attacking the security forces. All right. Now, so the left-wing extremism is yet another challenge. So left-wing extremism is another challenge, and in fact, it is such a serious challenge. That we are in your Ministry of Home. We have a separate wing, and it is known as LWE wing, left-wing extremism wing. Which is responsible for taking measures for preventing any major incident any Naxal incident in the country, and which is also responsible for undertaking developmental activities in those areas so that the problem of left-wing extremism or Naxalism could be contained. All right, so we are making efforts towards that. So left-wing extremism is yet another challenge for the internal security of India. All right, now then there is a problem of misuse of the social media. We have a social media. We have the social media. We have the Facebook. We have the Facebook. We have the WhatsApp, and we have the Twitter. There are various social media is there. Electronic media is there, and we have a social media there. Now, social media, if social media is misused, now social media, there is also one of the major threats to the internal security of India from the misuse of the social media. Or any media if it is misused. See, not only social media, any media if it is misused. For example, if the social media is used for spreading rumors, and you have find that particularly when we talk about the problem of mob lynching in this country, so sometimes, or the problem of communal violence in this country, or the problem of communal unrest in this country. See, this has been aided and abetted by the social media. People belonging to one particular community would try to circulate a particular kind of message, the communal message, which could perpetuate communal violence in this country. So misuse of social media, and it is very difficult to track them. It is because such a huge number of people are using that social media. All right. And this is all encrypted messages. So it is very difficult to keep a track on that, though government is making efforts for keeping a track on the social media, the messages, but it may not be very easy. It's very difficult. So misuse of social media could be fanning communal violence, could be fanning communal unrest in this country. So that is also one of the, so misuse of social media is yet another challenge, and controlling and regulating social media not very easy for the government. So this is yet another source from where we are facing a challenge to the internal security of India. All right. Then there is a problem related to what we call there could be a problem from across the border. And there could be a problem from the border, or the problem related to border crisis, I've used the word, or a problem related to the border management. For example, if you find the infiltration from across the border, particularly if we talk about infiltration from across the border, if we talk about say the Bangladesh, there have been various illegal migrants crossing over towards the Indian side. Various illegal migrants crossing over to the Indian side from the Bangladesh, and creating a problem of demographic change for India. See, why we have a problem of what we call the problem that we have in Assam. Why we had to bring a Citizenship Amendment Act, that we have recently brought. Why there is a problem of what we call NRC in Assam, the problem of NRC in Assam. It is primarily because in many areas where the minority turns into majority and majority turns into minority because of this demographic change. And why this demographic change? This demographic change is on account of the infiltration from illegal migration or from across the border, particularly in Bangladesh. So people in Assam are agitating. Why they are agitating? Because certain minority groups they have turned into majority because of the infiltration, and majority have turned into the minority. All right. So because of this demographic change. So border, if we are not able to secure your border, this could create a problem of illegal migration in the country, and this could also create a problem of what we call cross-border infiltration and the group would try to create a political instability in this country. All right. So problem of problem related to the lack of the proper border management, lack of the proper border security, all right, and the kind of border that we have, particularly with Pakistan, the kind of border that we have with Bangladesh, the kind of open border that we have with the Nepal, we have the open border with Nepal. So if we are not able to maintain, if we are not able to manage the border security, that could also indirectly pose a challenge to the internal security of India. All right. So the border crisis or lack of proper border management. All right. So these are the areas that we have talked about. So if you are asked a question on the major challenges, they could be asking you a question, what are the major challenges to the internal security of India, or what are the major sources from where India is perceiving a internal security threat? So you have to talk about these points which I have mentioned, okay, one by one. For example, I've talked about the civil order, agitation and the movement in this country. It could be a communal violence, it could be mob lynching, it could be problem of terrorism, it could be problem of cross-border infiltration, problem of separatism, problem of insurgency in Northeast, it problem of Naxalism or left-wing extremism, all right, problem of organized crime, and I have tried to explain how organized crime is linked with terrorism. So organized crime as one of the major areas, and then cyber security and misuse of social media, the border management issues. So these are the areas, if you are asked a question on the major sources to major threats to the major areas from where India is perceiving a threat to the internal security of the country, or what are the major challenges. In both the cases, whether they ask you a question on major challenges to the internal security of India, or they ask you a question on what are the major sources of internal security threat for India, in both the cases, answer is going to be the same. So I have given you the point. So what we have discussed so far, before I proceed further, just let me summarize what we have discussed today, till now. I have tried to explain you what the concept of internal security is. What is the concept of security? I have talked about two domains of the security, internal security and external security. What is the difference between the two? What is the difference between internal security and external security? All right. And I have talked about the Kautilya's concept of national security when he talks about the four kinds of security threats. He talks about the internal security threat, external security threat, internal but externally added, and external but internally added. So the four kind of security threats. Then I talked about the traditional and non-traditional dimension of security. I've tried to explain what is the non-traditional dimension of security, becomes very important. So what is the difference between the two? That also I've tried to clarify. Then we have covered is why the problem of internal security becomes a major challenge for a country like India. And in that context, I referred certain points, is the huge population that we have in this country, 1/6 of the humanity. Then we talked about the diversity, how diversity becomes a major challenge, whether we talk in terms of the language diversity, cultural diversity, the caste diversity, regional diversity, we talked about that. So how it becomes a challenge. Then I talked about the typical character of the Indian state, nature of the Indian state, that we have a federation and there could be different party governments at the center and the union, at the center and the state, and there could be clash between, they could not agree on certain internal security issues. All right. Then I talked about the law and order being a state subject. Being a state subject, it is also, we cannot have a very uniform law for the entire country so far as internal security is concerned. That is also a major challenge. And then we talked about how internal security issue is related with the issue of law and order. Then we talked about how internal security is linked with the problem of development. That how lack of internal security could create a problem of, could pose a major challenge for carrying out the developmental activities in any region. And that could also deter, that would also prevent the foreign players, foreign partners for investing in that particular region. So how internal security is related with the development. All right. Then we talked about the factor that what are the major sources, major challenges to the internal security of India. In that context, I have referred several points just now. Now, Let me come to the another important dimension. You could be asked a question that why internal security is a bigger challenge than external security of India. Internal security is a bigger challenge than the external security of India. Or do you agree with the viewpoint that internal security poses a major challenge than the external security? The answer to this question, just let me answer that question. Why internal security is a major challenge? Why internal security is a major challenge to the external security of India? Major challenge than the external security of India. Because say in external security, you are your enemies, you can identify your enemies. In external security, you can identify your enemies. You know that external security, you are posing a threat either from China or from Pakistan. So it is easier for us to identify the external security threats. All right. Your enemies are known to you. So when your enemies are known to you, you can prepare your strategy, you can prepare your counter strategy. Because you are knowing the source from where you are perceiving your external security threat. Your enemies are known to you, that is a bigger advantage to you. All right. So when you know where your enemies are, all right, so then it is easier for you to track them, it is easier for you to trap them, and it is easier for you to take defensive measures because your enemies are known to you. Now, but in case of internal security, your enemies are unknown. Your enemies are unknown, and your enemies are known in the sense that it could be from within, somebody from the within. You are attending a class in the classroom, such a huge classroom. Now, for example, just a very imaginary kind of situation, that somebody in garb of a student, somebody has brought a bomb in his college bag and is trying to plant it inside the classroom. You cannot do. So you are caught unaware. So there could be a situation like that. And so your enemies are unknown. Your enemies are unknown. In external security threat, your enemies are known, but in internal, your enemies are known. You have enemies from within you. The enemies are from within. So when enemies are from within, they are living under a garb and it is very difficult to trace them. Alright, so internal security becomes a major issue than even external security. Internal security becomes a major challenge than even external security. It is primarily on account of the fact that you have your unknown enemies and you have enemies from within. And that doesn't happen with external security, because in external security, you can identify your enemies. So that becomes the crucial point. Why internal security is a major challenge than even the external security of the country. All right. Now, how bigger is the challenge? Let me refer here about a parliamentary standing committee of Ministry of Home. They produced a report. A parliamentary standing committee of Ministry of Home, they produced a report, and it was basically a 43rd report regarding the internal security situation in the country. Let me give you a reference to that. 43rd report of a parliamentary standing committee of Ministry of Home. They submitted 43rd report, and in 43rd report it is said that out of, in fact, 210 out of 535 districts of India, 210 out of 535 districts of India, they are affected by serious internal security issues, serious internal security problems. Means 210 districts out of 535 districts of India, they are facing a problem of, and some of them they are facing the major problem. They are facing the problem of internal security issues. Okay, or you can say they are facing a problem of public disorder. Means out of 535 districts, 210 districts are such districts where we are facing a problem of internal security and where we are facing a problem of public disorder. Now, this is a very This is a very huge figure. So we can, it covers almost 40% of the area. So we can say that almost 40% of the area of this country are under some kind of internal security threat. Whatever may be the region could be diverse, the region could be different. But this is a very gigantic figure. I mean that out of 535 districts and 210 districts, almost about a 40%, area of the country, we are facing a problem of internal security or the public disorder. So that makes why Government of India or Ministry of Home is considering internal security as a major problem for this country. Okay, so this is based on 43rd report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee submitted by Parliamentary Standing Committee of Ministry of Home. They have identified the 210 districts out of 35 where we are facing a problem of internal security threats or the problem of public disorder. So this is a great figure. So this is what makes problem of internal security very serious for this country. All right. Now what I will be doing, I will be briefly discussing the problem of internal security of India in a very historical perspective. Briefly, I will be very brief on that. Starting from 1947 until now, how we have faced these problems, what are the major areas. So let me briefly discuss that. The problem of internal security in a historical perspective. Let us take it. Let us take them all together. All right. Problem of internal security in a historical perspective. Okay. First aspect that we need to discuss, internal security problem for India was also a kind of British legacy. How it is a British legacy? It is a British legacy in the sense, it is a British legacy in what sense? It is a British legacy in the sense that Britishers, they had a policy of divide and rule. Britishers, they had a policy of divide and rule. The kind of system of communal electorate which was introduced by the Britishers. The Britishers' policy of divide and rule. And that is Britishers' policy of divide and rule. We have to link it with what we call the two-nation theory given by Dr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Two-nation theory given by Jinnah. You are aware of that. That Hindus and Muslims, they are two distinct culture. All right. They cannot live together. They cannot sink and swim together. They have to be separated. They cannot exist together. So this two-nation theory given by Dr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah as a part of the Britishers' policy of divide and rule, what we find is become the major region, becomes a major problem, pose the first major problem for the communal violence, internal security in the form of communal violence in this country. You know the huge partisan war, people from both the sides, large number of people were killed. So, and that kind of animosity that we find, the religious animosity between Hindus and Muslims that we find in this country today, it is primarily on account of Britishers' policy of divide and rule and the two-nation theory. So, first important point that we discuss when we talk about the internal security in a historical perspective is that this is an impact of British legacy. All right. So, this is the first important thing that we need to understand. Now, the second thing which I would like to mention here when we talk about the internal security in a historical perspective, so we talk about see the problems, how it started in India. See, 1950s, after this partition war, after this communal backlash between the two communities, say in 1950s, the problem started, the problem of internal security started in the northeast, and it started with the Nagaland, the Fijo, who was a Naga leader, and he wanted independence. He wanted that the Nagaland should be a separate country, should be an independent country. All right, and in fact, many of you would be remembering the point that the Fijo, they had Nagas, led by the Naga leader, they had declared their independence. Like when Pakistan declared independence, Fijo group had declared their independence and independence of the Nagaland. So, but due to all credit should be going to the Home Minister at that point of time, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India, who with his policy and by using forces we controlled the situation. We captured and Nagaland ultimately became a part of India. Now, so the problem started. The problem of insurgency in North started led by the Fijo in the Nagaland during the 1950s, and later on, from there it spread to Manipur. From there it spread to Manipur. From there it spread to the other parts, Tripura, spread to Mizoram and other areas. It spread. So the problem of insurgency started in the 1950s. All right. Then we find in 1960s and 1970s, 60s and 70s, we find the problem of Naxalism started. It started the problem of Naxalism, or what we call the North LWE, left-wing extremism. The problem of Naxalism started in 60s and 70s, and it started with why it is called Naxalism, because it started from a village. The problem of Naxalism started with a village in the Darjeeling district of West Bengal, and that place is called the village is called Naxalbari. So since this Naxal movement started from a village, and the name of the village was Naxalbari, so the Naxalbari village was the origin. That is why it is called Naxalism. Okay, so it started from West Bengal, then it spread to other parts of the country. It spread to Bihar. At that time, Jharkhand was not there. It spread to Bihar. It spread to Odisha. It spread to some areas of West Bengal. It spread to some other regions of Andhra Pradesh. Different regions it spread from there. All right. So the problem of Naxalism started during 1960s, 1970s. It became a serious problem. All right. 60s and 70s we have a rise of Naxalism or rise of Maoism. Okay. Then 1980s, I could tell you, in 1980s. The problem of what we call the problem of terrorism in Punjab. Terrorism in Punjab, the terrorism started in Punjab, the Khalistan movement, as it is known as. So the problem of terrorism. There's no need to go into details. I'm just referring to how the problem became serious for internal security of India in a historical perspective. So in 80s, there is a problem of terrorism and the Khalistani movement, but because somehow the Indian government succeeded in suppressing that, controlling that, the problem of terrorism in Punjab, we were able to control it because terrorism in Punjab. But now you could be asking me a question: if we could contain terrorism, if we could resolve the issue of terrorism in Punjab, why could not we do it in Jammu and Kashmir? So in terrorism was controlled in Punjab because the masses did not have the support of the masses. All right, the masses did not support terrorism. All right, it was only a disgruntled group, a small group who were behind the terrorist incidents in Punjab, and this was aided and abetted by Pakistan. Everybody knows that. So, but the masses did not support. So, since the masses did not support, it was easier for the government to contain. But the problem of separatism and terrorism in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, is we are not able to contain because there are the people who are the local people. There are the Kashmiri people who are sympathizers, and they have their grievances and they are supporting the terrorism. All right, so that is why we have not been able to contain and control them. All right, so 1980s there was a problem of terrorism in Punjab. It started. Then 1990s, so 1990s, there is a problem of separatism and militancy. Separatism and militancy. This started in J&K, in Jammu and Kashmir, earlier a state, now union territory. So separatism and militancy started in Jammu and Kashmir. So after Pakistan becoming unsuccessful in its nefarious activities of fanning terrorism in Punjab, after a severe blow to this Khalistani movement in Punjab, the problem erupted in 1990s in the form of militancy and separatism in Punjab in a big way, in a big way. Now, so a problem of militancy in Punjab, and by the late 1990s, there was a 26/11 incident. There was a 26/11 incident in Mumbai. 26/11 incident, the Mumbai terror attack. So what we find is this is how it, because, and that was again supported and abetted by Pakistan. So what happened is that, so all of us are aware of the fact that in 1971, war with Pakistan, India had liberated Bangladesh. It was because of India's effort. And that Bangladesh was liberated. So India played a role in liberation of Bangladesh from Pakistan. What was at that time the Eastern Pakistan. So it was liberated from that. Now, after that, Pakistan started creating a trouble for India in 1980s. I have told you, in Punjab. So Khalistan movement was there aftermath of, it was basically aftermath of the Pakistan's loss in the war of 1971. So and when Pakistan failed and we were successful in controlling terrorism in Punjab, then what we find in 1990s, Pakistan puts all its attention for the separatism and militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. All right, puts it that, and then it's followed by this. So Pakistan is nurturing a grudge against India. Pakistan is trying to avenge its defeat in the war of 1971. And how is trying to avenge its defeat? It is because Pakistan says that if Pakistan feels that if India could liberate Bangladesh, why can't we liberate Jammu and Kashmir? So they have that kind of motive. Not going into any further detail, but I just wanted to make you understand that how historically this problem of internal security developed in India. So problem of separatism, militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, then 26/11 incident, then 2000 onwards we find in there's so many terrorist incidents in the country, starting with the attack on Indian Parliament. Then after that, the series of attacks, we had the what we call so many attacks in Jammu and Kashmir, attacks on the Pathankot air base, attack on Uri attack, the Pulwama attack, a series of attacks in 2000 onwards. That was done by the Pakistan. So we find the problem continues. Apart from that, now, when we talk about the 2000 onwards, what we find is the problem is becoming much more serious because now it has taken a deeper root. It has taken a different form in the sense, for example, we'll be talking about now Pakistan is trying to create an economic instability in India by circulating fake Indian currency notes, FICN. It has become, okay, now organized crime, linkages between organized crime and terrorism has become much more widespread. All right. Now, cyber crime has become a major problem. All right. FICN has become a major problem. Cyber crime has become a major problem. All right. Terrorism is becoming a major problem. So 2000 onwards, we find Now in the 2000s, this period, we find the problem of insecurity, a problem of internal security has become much more serious. All right. Now it has covered various domains. All right. Now let us come to the point of what we say, talking about the internal. What are the areas of internal security? What you could be asked a question on. What are the internal security attributes? All right. After having a discussion on the historical dimension of internal security, how the problem started in 1950s and how it continues even now, let us come to the point of, let us discuss the attributes of major attributes of internal security. Means attributes means what do you want to secure? What are the dimensions? What is the scope? Basically, attributes, we talk about the different dimensions of internal security, what we want to secure. Okay, so let us talk about the attributes of internal security one by one. Attributes of internal security. What are the attributes of internal security? Let us talk about the major attributes of internal security of India. Now, if the question is on scope, what are the scope? If the question is what are the major dimensions of internal security, in all the cases, answer is going to be the same. I'm just giving you the major points on that. When you talk about the internal security attributes, first is securing territorial integrity. You have to secure our border, securing territorial integrity and protecting external sovereignty. Securing territorial integrity and protecting external as well as internal sovereignty. Securing territorial integrity, that nobody should be able to come from outside. Okay, so say sovereignty has two attributes. Sovereignty has two attributes. One is the internal attribute and another is external attribute. All right, so maintaining internal and external sovereignty or protecting internal and external sovereignty, that within this territory there is Indian government, Indian state is the supreme, and we decide what is good for us and what we decide based on what is good for us and what is bad for us. So we have a right to take any decision, okay, depending upon our national interest within this territorial framework, and there should be no challenge to our internal sovereignty from any external source. All right, so securing territorial integrity and protecting external and internal sovereignty of the country, this is the first dimension, this is the first major attribute of internal security of the country. So whenever there is a challenge to India's external sovereignty or India's internal sovereignty, we would be making all possible efforts. We would try to keep secure our internal and external sovereignty. So this is the first major attribute of the internal security of India. All right. The second major attribute of internal security of India is the second attribute would be maintaining domestic peace. Maintaining domestic peace would be the second major attribute of internal security, that there should be peace and amity within the country. Because see, when there is no peace, there will be no stability. I have just tried to explain a few minutes back. So maintaining peace within the country, maintaining peace within the territorial boundary of the country. So everywhere peace, atmosphere of peace should be prevailing everywhere. So maintaining peace within the country, maintaining peace, or what we call maintaining domestic peace. This is the second major attribute of this country. All right. The third would be maintaining law and order. See, there cannot be any kind of, you cannot maintain, because a major threat to the internal security when there is a law and order issue. Why do you impose section 144? Huh? Why do you so? Because to maintain peace. All right. So maintaining law and order within the country, that no untoward incident should be taking place. Why we have the police force? Why we have the paramilitary forces? What is the main job? The main job of the police and the paramilitary forces is to maintain law and order within the country. All right. Not allowing anyone to take law and order into their own hands. All right. And when you find that there are some elements, there are some antisocial elements which are trying to create a problem of law and order, so we have a police forces taking action against them. All right. So maintaining law and order within the country is the second major attribute of internal security of India. Third major attribute of internal security of India. Okay. Then we have rule of law. See, there should not be any kind of anarchy. There should not be any kind of chaos. There should not be any kind of lawlessness. There should be a rule of law in this country. And not only rule of law, everybody should be protected by what we call the rule of law and equality before law. In the eyes of law, everybody is equal. So if there is no equality before law, so then it could lead to, if a law is different from the rich and the law is different from the poor, in that case you would be having a chaos. You would be having a problem. You would be having a problem of law and order. Everybody. So rule of law. When you talk about the rule of law, it includes equality before law. Rule of law and equality before law. Now, we have the judiciary in this country. We have the judiciary in this country to ensure that there is equality before law. So rule of law and equality before law is yet another attribute of internal security, that everybody should have the protection of law. When you talk of the equality of law, what we have in mind is that everybody should have the protection of the law. Law should be there to protect everyone, whether rich or poor, strong or weak. All right. So rule of law and equality before law is yet another dimension or attribute of internal security. Okay. Now, another most important aspect when we talk about the internal security attributes, what I have in mind here is absence of fear in the minds of the people. People should be absolutely fearless. There should be absence of fear in the minds of the people. Means, see, security is it is a psychological concept. You should be feeling secure. Why do you not want to send the female members of your family after evening? You do not want to send them out, or usually you do not want them to go out. Why are you feeling secure? Why are you bolting all the doors before you go to the sleep? Why? Because you are feeling that you are secure. A sense of security is very important, and that sense of security will come when there is an absence of fear. So government has to create a kind of situation, has to create a kind of environment wherein citizens of this country, wherein peoples of this country are fearless, that they are secured within the country. There is nobody, and if there is a problem, there is a police to provide them the protection. So within your house you are secured. When you go out, you feel that the police is there and to provide you the protection. So what I'm trying to tell you is, it is the responsibility of the government. It is the responsibility of the government to create a sense of fearlessness among the people. All right, and how could government do that? If the government is successful in creating a sense of fearlessness among the people, if the people are feeling secure, in that case we can say that there is no problem of internal security. All right, so internal security you would be able to maintain only in a situation when there is an absence of fear in the minds of the people. So absence of fear in the minds of the people means guaranteeing people, giving people of this country, giving citizens of this country, giving people of this country a kind of guarantee, whether the guarantee is given to you by the constitution or whether the guarantee is given to you by the government. So the guarantee is given to you that you are secured in this country, and that would come only when people have a sense of fearlessness. Okay, so that is the another dimension of internal security of the country. Okay, and then peaceful coexistence and communal harmony. Peaceful coexistence and communal harmony is yet another dimension, is yet another attribute of internal security. That people belonging to different community, people belonging to different region, okay, people belonging to different culture, people speaking different language, so they should be living amicably. They should be coexisting with each other. They should be coexisting with each other without any kind of, there could be a difference of opinion. All right, there could be a difference of opinion, but despite there being a difference of opinion, despite there being a difference of ideology, but people should be prepared to live together in an amity, in an atmosphere of communal harmony, in an atmosphere of communal amity. They should be able to live together. So if we are able to create that, so the problem of when we talk about the attribute of internal security, what we have in mind is that this is what we need to provide for. This is what we need to take care of. This is what the government has to ensure. So if the government is able to ensure a peaceful coexistence, despite India being such a diversified country, despite there being so much of diversity in the country, if we are able to maintain peaceful coexistence and communal harmony, we could say that there is an internal security in this country. All right. So this is yet another dimension of what we call is the internal security attributes. Okay. Now, finally, let me come to the final point when we talk about the internal security attributes. That is promoting India's rise as a global power. See, India has to grow. It is growing and it has to grow further. What we want to secure? See why we have a program, for example, Come and Make in India. Why we have that program? Because we want, or our honorable Prime Minister talks about making India a $5 trillion economy. So how would you be making India a $5 trillion economy? You cannot make India a $5 trillion economy if there is no communal harmony in this country, if there is no political and economic stability in this country. To make India a $5 trillion economy, which we are aiming at, it is not possible without peace and stability in this country. So internal security becomes very important. And one of the important attributes of India's internal security is that by maintaining internal security, by maintaining peace and stability in this country, we want to make India a global power. We want to promote India's emergence as a global power. Promoting India's emergence as a global power. That is what we are aiming at. All right. So these are the major attributes of India's internal security. So if you are asked a question, is what are the major attributes of India's internal security, or what are the major dimensions of India's internal security, or what are the major goals of India's security? What are the major goals of India's security? So even in that case, whether the question is on goals of India's internal security, or on the major dimensions of India's internal security, or the major attributes of India's internal security, these are the points which I have given you. All right. So that's what you need to write. Okay. Now, after talking about the major attributes of India's internal security, let us find out, when we have discussed at length about the problem of India's internal security, let us find out what are the factors that are creating a problem for India's internal security. What are the factors that are posing a threat to India's internal security? Okay. So this means whether we talk of terrorism, whether we talk of Naxalism, whether we talk of insurgency, whether we talk of the communal violence, any problem of internal security that we are talking about, what are the general factors responsible for the internal security issues in this country? For example, why the terrorism is there, why the Naxalism is there. So when we discuss these topics, one by one we'll be talking about that. But let us, in today's class, let me just explain that what are the general factors responsible for India's internal security issues, internal security problems. So general factors responsible for India's internal security issues, let us find them one by one. General description about the causes of internal security issues, or the problems of internal. What are the causes of internal security problems for India? Let us find them one by one. Unfriendly neighborhood. Unfriendly neighborhood or unfriendly neighbors. Poverty. Unemployment. Inequitable growth. Widening gap between haves and have-nots. Widening gap between haves and have-nots. Governance deficit. Now let me explain it one by one. Unfriendly neighborhood. When we talk of unfriendly neighborhood, what we have in mind is that Pakistan and China would always try to ensure that there is a political instability in this country. So you have a bad patch of relationship with Pakistan, they would always try. So what they want, both China and Pakistan together, they want that India's attention should just be concentrated on the border and India shouldn't be growing. They consider you as your rival, they consider you as your enemy. So unfriendly, so a major challenge. See the kind of money which we are investing on defense, which are putting up on defense, the kind of money which you have to put up on the arms build-up. Why there is a need for a peace-loving country like India to import S-400 missiles from Russia? Why are we importing it then? Because we are we are spending such a huge amount on what? We are spending such a huge amount on defense. We never know whether we will be able to use it or not. All right. So means what was the need for India to become a nuclear power? Because we are perceiving a threat, nuclear attack from China, so we had to do that. Now Pakistan has also become a nuclear power. So your unfriendly neighborhood, the kind of investment which you are making up on defense or maintaining your troops on the border, if there is a peace, you could be diverting the same amount of fund, you could be diverting those funds towards the development. You could be diverting those funds towards removal of poverty of the people. That could be doing. So unfriendly neighborhood is one of the major reasons for the problem of internal security of India. The second, I said, the poverty and unemployment. When the people are suffering from poverty, when the people are suffering from unemployment or underemployment, what happens is that their grievances are not redressed. It compels them to agitate. It compels them to rebel against the government. And that creates a problem of internal security. So problem of poverty and unemployment indirectly is the reason for the internal security problem for India. Inequitable growth. Some regions they have grown, some regions they have not grown. You can understand that the problem of inequitable growth could be explained by citing the example of the Northeast. Look into how the problem is there in Northeast, problem of development in Northeast. And you compare with in Maharashtra, you compare them to Gujarat. So in one area is developed, another area is totally underdeveloped. You take the example of Bihar and Jharkhand, particularly you take the example of Bihar, and then you compare it with Punjab, you compare it with Haryana, you compare it with Maharashtra, you compare it with Gujarat. So this inequitable growth, some areas they have grown socially, economically, politically, other areas they are totally backward. So this inequitable growth is yet another reason for the problem of internal security. Then widening gap between haves and the have-nots. In this country, rich is becoming richer and the poor is becoming poorer. So the widening gap between haves and have-nots, people do not have even the 2 squares meal. See how the problem started when you talk about the problem of Naxalism or left-wing extremism, how it started. It started from the lack of development. It started from the people did not have the 2 squares meal. It started from there. But now it has taken a different form. What we need to understand is widening gap between haves and the have-nots could also be linked with the problem of internal security. All right. Then governance deficit. Former Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, had said once that for every 1 rupee is being spent in this country by the government, by the time it reaches down the line, by the time it reaches the bottom, it remains just 12 paisa or 13 paisa. Means because of it goes either in corruption or whatever it could be the reason. So there is a lack of what is called governance deficit. Means the scheme is there, the program is there, but it is not being implemented or executed properly. So the lack of governance, government has so many schemes, so many developmental schemes, but it's not properly implemented. So there is a lack of governance, or we can say the governance deficit. That also becomes a reason for this problem of internal security in this country. All right. Then we talk about increasing communal divide. Increasing communal divide in this country means communal diversity between Hindus and Muslims. All right. So this religious diversity, communal diversity, leading the problem of communal violence in this country. So increasing communal divide. All right. increasing communal divide is yet another reason for the problem of internal security in this country. Okay. Then we talk about increasing caste awareness, increasing caste awareness, increasing caste awareness and caste conflict, conflict between the higher caste and the lower caste. All right. So some caste-based reservation system, some people are opposing the reservation system, some people want reservation system. So increasing caste divide, all right, increasing caste divide, and particularly you could add to it the politicization of the caste. People participate in the election based on the caste, they vote on the caste lines. So this is basically increasing caste awareness and caste conflict is yet another reason for this problem of internal security in this country. All right. Then we talk about other diversities. Other diversities means we talk about the linguistic diversities. People are agitating on the language issues. Okay, so there would be a linguistic issue in particularly in southern states like in Tamil Nadu. There could be linguistic. There could be agitation on the issue of language. So linguistic diversity. All right. So linguistic diversity. There could be ethnic diversity, people belonging to a particular ethnicity. For example, in see the tribal movement in the northeast. So other diversities means linguistic diversity, ethnic diversities that could also create a problem of internal security for this country. All right, and you have to add to this point that whether it is religious diversity or it is ethnic diversity, this takes a different form because it is all politicized. The ethnic conflict is ethnic issue is politicized. The linguistic issue is politicized. So that makes the problem more serious. All right. Then the problem is because of the border issues, maintaining border at such a difficult kind of climatic condition in Ladakh, in the northeast, in such a very say for example Aksai Chin area. So maintaining peace at the border, and when we have such a huge border with the neighborhood countries, with the problem of cross-border infiltration from Pakistan, the problem of illegal migrants from what we call the Bangladesh, the open border that we have with the Nepal. So, what the problem? Particularly now, let me talk about the Nepal when I have referred to this. See what happens after committing a crime within the country, or after committing a crime in India, because we have an open border in Nepal, so it is very easier for the criminals or organized criminal group to cross over to the border in Nepal or cross over to the other side in Nepal. So with the kind of borders that we have, all right, such a huge border or the open border that we have with the Nepal, or the problem because we have not been able to fence the entire border with Bangladesh, so we find the illegal migration creating a problem for us. So the border issue is also one of the important reasons for the internal security for this country. Okay, And the last point when we talk about the why the problem of internal security is there is I would be now referring to the poor criminal justice system. The poor criminal justice system. So when we talk about the poor criminal justice system, see, justice delayed is justice denied. The kind of the justice system that we have, it takes years and years, year to get a person who has actually committed a crime to get them punished. So this creates a lack of fearlessness among the antisocial elements, among the discontented elements. So they do not have any kind of fear because of the poor criminal justice system. Either it takes long time for the justice to deliver, for the judiciary to deliver the justice, or what we find the kind of law we have in this country, many times what we find is actually the people who have committed a crime, they do not get punished. Sometimes you will find that the witnesses, they turn hostile, so, and many times you have a situation when you find that the accused, after being languishing in jail for about 23 years on the charges of terrorism, is freed by the judiciary. So judiciary will take almost 23 years to give the final verdict. All right. Now the thing is, because of this poor criminal justice system, who will give the person who is freed by the court after 23 long years, who would be giving them back the 23 years which they have lost in the court, which they have lost in the jail? So this kind of the poor criminal justice system, the poor criminal justice system that we have in this country, in some situations justice is delayed, and as we know that justice delayed is justice denied, or sometimes you are, as accused, you have to spend longer years in the jail and before you are freed by the judiciary. So in such a situation is this poor criminal justice system is also responsible for the internal security problem for this country, because they create a sense of dissatisfaction among the people. It leads to increase of grievances among the people. So these are the general factors that we have talked about that are responsible for internal security problem for this country. Now in the next class, what we will be talking about, what is left is, we'll be talking about, I will be starting tomorrow with the internal security doctrine. We're talking about internal security doctrine or internal security philosophy. We do not have one. See, other countries, they have other countries of the world, the European countries, the US, they have the internal security doctrine, that when there is a problem of internal security, how it is to be dealt with. Unfortunately, in our country, we do not have an internal security doctrine. But once a question was asked in the UPSC, is that what should be the major component of India's internal security doctrine? This question has already been asked once. So I need to discuss that. So after discussing the internal security doctrine, I would be shifting over to another topic, that would be the terrorism. So tomorrow I would start with the internal security doctrine. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you.